Okay, so I'm going to start with how did we meet? We met, I think, digitally last year. I do have a croaky voice. I only just started to talk and I'm already out of voice. So Jay and I met last year. I think you were shopping around Stoke at the time. And I said, look, I'm interested in publishing it, but if you find anybody larger than my company, which is everybody, you should go with them. I think you found someone a little bit bigger than us. But it was from that and watching Jay playtest his game and iterate on his game that I saw his work ethic. I'm like, that's somebody that I could work with. Jay, you're working a game. And then you talk.
Yeah, okay, cool. I'm happy for you to just keep talking about me for a minute. Okay, cool. I'm going to talk about how to set expectations and common ground. So, now they're working a little. Ryan reached out to me, and I was like, yeah, cool. I'm just starting out. I'm sure. Let's collaborate on something. Why not? What could go wrong? So let's see how this goes. The first thing we discussed was, do we have the same goal in mind for design in general? And that was like the type of games we like playing, and it's also the way we wanted to get a game out there. And that was whether we wanted to pitch to publishers, whether we wanted to crowdfund something, or if we wanted to just make a game for fun. Because let's be honest, there's all different avenues that you can take games. We agreed that Ryan's got his own publishing studio that he does his own stuff with, and we talked about, okay, let's look at pitching to publishers. So we agreed on that part. So that's was setting the first stage of expectations. Then we talked about the types of games we like. Both of us aren't really big Euro players, so that was scratched out immediately. We both have young kids, so our time is limited to play longer games. So suddenly we started getting this funnel of the type of games we liked, where we started to lean into this small to medium weight game. And we both agreed, okay, that's the type of game we like playing, that's the type of game we have capacity to make. Then we talked about the types of games we enjoy making, which can be different to the types of games we like playing. That happened to also align with the types of games we did like playing. And as time's gone on, we have sort of moved around because we've made sort of collaborated on many different games so far. But that sort of started with a light to mid-weight game. Then we gave ourselves a brief of like what we wanted in a game. Did we want to make solo games? Did we want to make a two-player only game? Because gosh, that would have been pretty easy. If it was just a two-player game, it would be very easy to play test. But it wasn't. It was looking for a 2 to 4, 2 to 5 player game. That was our brief that we set. And then we... What's that?
45 minutes.
45 minutes, yeah, okay, cool. And 45 minutes playtime, thanks. Which leads me to complementary skill sets, so thank you, Ryan. We talked about where do our skill sets align and where they differ. We both have a good understanding of visual design, so Photoshop. I come from an advertising background. Ryan comes from a background I don't actually understand, but it's more tech.
It's certainly not graphic design.
It's not graphic design, but it's tech. Which is great because we can align on different areas and cross paths. So that made working together very easy because we could split tasks up. And then, one of the other things that came later, and we can talk more a little bit about, was percentages and royalties, and where do we want to split things 50-50? How's it going to work? I'll touch a bit more on that later, but Ryan could sort of talk about how our process worked from there.
Right. I like our process.
Thank you.
So our process was that we'd say to each other, in 2 weeks' time, we're going to pitch some games to each other. So we would each agree to pitch about 4 games. So we go away, write up a bunch of notes, curiously record some things, then we come back and we pitch our games at each other. The other person would then make their own notes, we'd have a discussion about it. smartphone. So, yours is well. Yeah. And then after 2 weeks, we would take the other person's game, and then we'd work on the other person's game independently, and then come back and re-pitch that game at the other person. And the reason why we do this is we want to have both of us to have a sense of ownership over the idea that we pick. I don't want it to be, Jay, I've got a great idea, come work on it, and every time you do something that I don't like, I'm just going to say no. We want both of us to have a sense of ownership and to fight for our vision of that particular game. That was it. And so the game that we have over here, Little Cyclones, is the first one that we worked on. And that was originally an idea that I pitched to Jay. Jay went away, worked on it, came back and pitched it to me, and we took Jay's idea to go forward with that, which was very, very different to what I originally pitched. And the game that ended up with what we have there is very, very different again. Do you want to talk about how I fixed it?
That was a much longer process. Okay, so following on from that, diving a little bit deeper at how do we make games? So, obviously Ryan's talked about pitching back and forth, which is such a great way of ownership and also workshopping ideas. And the way we do that is, taking that back, it's just sketching things up. It doesn't have to be pretty. You're just working collaboratively, so it can just be crappy drawings that you give back and forth, and as long as it's legible, and sometimes it's not, and we work through that as well. Then it's going through conversations, and we have an open channel just through Discord where, during the week we might just throw an idea back and forth, and that might turn into something else, and suddenly that's opened up a mechanic that we didn't even think of. So it's like keeping that open line of communication as well. And then taking that next step, because I'm on the Gold Coast and Ryan's in Melbourne, obviously we can't just catch up every week and start playtesting games, so we had to find a middle ground, and that's online testing. And
catching up every week.
Catching up every week, so it's very expensive. Don't recommend it. So, online platforms, it's scary if you've never done it. It's a time investment, but it is so worth it. It takes away from the physical being in the same room as someone, which is the great thing about board games, but sometimes it's a necessary evil to progressive design, especially if you're not in the same city. So, we started working on a platform, ScreenTop, if you're familiar with Tabletop Simulator or something like that. And it can seem daunting because there's a learning curve, but once you get over that hurdle, it's such a quick process to iterate and to collaborate, because there's a central area that you can both work back and forth from. And the other thing is getting into digital playtesting as well. And I'll mention I'll sort of come full circle here and talk about the TGDA Discord has playtests. So find areas where you can do this playtesting outside of just yourselves as well. So bringing other people in. And that's where we met, but that's also where we were doing the majority of our playtesting. Finding other people to come in and check the game out. And the great thing about this event is right now we're in the same room. So there could be your next co-designer is in this room right now. And as Jason said, don't be afraid to ask. You might find someone that complements your skill sets tonight, and then you have an open channel like the TGDA Discord or somewhere else where you can communicate freely and work collaboratively on a game, because it's going to be 200 times faster than trying to do it yourself. And it's rewarding because you can build a friendship as well. So yeah, and yeah.
So the bit we talked about, how do you settle disputes when you don't agree with the direction? Like you wanted to get some butterflies into Little Cyclones.
Yeah, okay. And I mean, that's the other thing is, obviously we've got differing opinions. You're going to get brick walled at some point when you have an idea and the other person hates the idea.
It's a good idea.
And that's where, and that's where, going back to setting expectations, we sort of agreed that having a third party help you make that decision is always going to be easier going to playtesting nights and testing the two ideas and seeing how they go up against each other, because the playtesters and the target audience are going to be the deciding factor. Because if you've agreed on who your target audience is, then they're going to know probably better than us if we're not the target audience. So a lot of the times we have different ideas, but we let the playtesting decide. What's that?
You make it a competition.
Yeah, exactly. Turn everything into a game. So yeah, that's the other big thing as well. Try to, agree to disagree. And when you feel strongly about an idea, be open to let it be decided by a third party, because that's the best way to move a product forward and a design forward. Because take your ego aside, because you don't always know the best outcome. Is that what you were looking for?
Pretty much.
Yeah, okay.
Good enough.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, well, I was going to end on the thing, so yeah, your next designer could be in this room. So just tailing back, because that was the better way to end it, but that's fine.
But we'll let the people decide.
Yeah. So, yeah, cool. So, yeah, digital playtesting, great opportunity. Meeting people tonight, that's what DevCon's for, and working together, because your process will speed up immensely.
So if you want to hear another talk about some up-and-coming Australian designers about collaborating, Matthew Dunstan and Phil Harding are doing a talk on co-designing on Saturday.
Yeah, some upstart sort of designers, you might haven't heard of them yet. They'll also be doing a talk as well, so we recommend that to check out too. Alright, cool. Yeah, and yeah, sorry we didn't bring up a great slide too. They were there.
We did ask.
So,